Tonight, Ontario's COVID-19 vaccine passport plan is unveiled.
We either do this or we risk shutting down the economy, which would even be worse.
We'll have details on how it works and the mixed reaction. Plus,
herd immunity went down the drain with the advent of Delta. We need to be aware of that.
new COVID-19 modeling outlines how many people need to be vaccinated to avoid a fall lockdown and overwhelmed hospitals. And
we need to do something about getting those prices under control.
Affordable housing is on the minds of many GTA voters. We take a look at the major parties' promises as the federal Liberals launch their election platform in Toronto. Good evening, I'm Talia Ricci. We begin tonight with a look at new modeling projections in this province. The COVID-19 science table says vaccination rates need to rise to avoid another lockdown. And it expects ICU admissions to match or exceed what we saw in the third wave by October. Our Jessica Ng brings us the latest.
Unfortunately, it's pretty grim.
Dr. Fahad Razak is a doctor of internal medicine at St. Michael's Hospital. He's also a member of Ontario's COVID-19 Science Advisory Table, which released new pandemic projections today.
Without accelerating the pace of vaccination in those who are eligible, we could have ICU admission rates that match or even outstrip what we saw in the third wave.
He points to vaccines or lack thereof. Over the past few months, all of his patients with COVID-19 are missing one or both doses.
Billions of doses that have been given worldwide at this point, and it is very clear that the benefits far outstrip any harm from taking these vaccines.
The data agrees. Case count, hospitalizations, and those in ICU are overwhelmingly unvaccinated residents. Then there's the strains themselves. One case of the Delta variant causes, on average, up to 8 other infections, more than twice as infectious as the original strain of the virus.
Herd immunity went down the drain with the advent of Delta. We need to be aware of that. We will not be able to reach herd immunity just with vaccination.
Dr. Peter Uni says at least 85% of Ontarians in each age group need to be vaccinated for us to have a chance of crushing the fourth wave. Currently, 76% of eligible residents are fully vaccinated.
We had a heightened risk just a few weeks ago. It's plateauing out, and we'll have to watch.
But it's not just vaccines. Experts say we also need to keep public health measures. While Ontario stayed in step 3 of its reopening plan, other parts of the world and even other provinces like Alberta and British Columbia loosened restrictions and are now paying the price.
Alberta is on fire. Now we have vaccine certificates coming. Great, next step. We continue with masking.
As well as social distancing and keeping our social circles to less than 70% of what they were before the pandemic. But doctors reiterate, getting vaccinated is key.
Many people who are admitted once they are sick wish they got that vaccine. So all I can say is please do your part now. Go out and get vaccinated.
Jessica Ng, CBC News, Toronto.
the Premier said it was something he didn't want to do, but today he announced that vaccine passports will soon be needed in Ontario. They'll come into effect on September 22nd at many non-essential businesses. A month after that, you'll be able to download an app with a QR code. Lorenda Redekop has the details and the reaction.
There's no secret that, I wasn't in favor of this.
The Premier had said vaccine passports would create a split society.
We either do this or we risk shutting down the economy, which would even be worse.
Proof of vaccination will be required indoors at restaurants, gyms, and recreational facilities, sporting events, concerts, theaters, and cinemas, banquet halls and event spaces, as well as casinos and bingo halls. At nightclubs considered high risk, you'll have to show proof even if it's an outdoor space. Initially, for the first month, you'll use the current proof of vaccine already available. On October 22nd, a QR code and app will launch, or you can print out a paper copy of your QR code. More secure, easier, though something the Premier had said wasn't needed. Asked what changed, he blamed the federal government.
Every Premier wanted a vaccine passport. And unfortunately, the federal government decided to go to an unnecessary election, which I'm still shaking my head over, in the middle of a fourth wave.
Exempt from proof of vaccination are hair salons and barber shops, retail, places of worship, and youth recreational sports. This also isn't required for employees in locations where customers have to show proof.
Any business can introduce an immunization policy for their business and for their employees. The other piece of protection that you have within a restaurant, for example, is that every worker should be screening for symptoms before they show up.
I'm quite confident, actually, that some of these things will be reconsidered over time as we see more and more transmission in these settings. It would just be nice to identify those right away.
The opposition says given some other provinces already have this in place, it should have happened sooner.
The Premier has obviously been dragged kicking and screaming to this point, notwithstanding what all of the experts were saying. So here we are, as I said, last minute Larry, and that's going to have an impact on our businesses. It's going to have an impact on our communities.
People with medical exemptions will be able to enter these non-essential businesses. So will children under 12, not yet eligible for a vaccine. The government says this is a temporary measure. How long it lasts will all depend on the fourth wave. Lorenda Redicop, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, reaction to the announcement has been mixed. Some business owners we spoke to today think it's a good step if it will prevent another lockdown. Others see some holes in the province's plan. Natalie Collada has more on that.
That didn't go nearly far enough because staff would have to be vaccinated.
Restaurateur Cindy Stern isn't convinced today's announcement will be enough for the bistro on Avenue to pivot back to indoor dining.
And I'm not sure if any customers that want to choose indoor dining, a little fearfully, will want to be served by unvaccinated staff. So I'm absolutely baffled by that point.
A lot of questions remain ahead of September 22nd, when the province's vaccine certificate system takes effect.
How this is going to be implemented on the ground for small business owners. How is this going to be enforced? Will there be any training or financial support provided? What is a small business owner supposed to do if things get aggressive on the ground?
Today, the Premier offered few details.
I just don't want it to happen. I don't. If people want to get angry, they want to protest, come down to Queen's Park. They can protest, they can do cartwheels, do whatever they want down here. But please, these people are just trying to earn a living.
In a survey last month, a majority of Canadians reported they strongly or somewhat support mandatory proof of vaccination for all non-essential businesses. 3 in 10 reject the proposition. And 76% of Ontarians reported they want some form of vaccination dose identification. Good news for gym owner Ian Smith.
Any solution that will allow myself to continue to operate, I'm happy to hear of. So it's going to keep our members and staff safe, and as well as just prevent us from going into another lockdown, which I know as a small business cannot endure again.
Still, some experts wonder if it will be enough.
There are two things you don't mess with in politics. You don't mess with people's jobs and you don't mess with people's kids. And I think they are playing a hell of a game of Russian roulette with children across the province, betting that the processes they have in place are going to be sufficient to prevent outbreaks in schools.
Natalie Collada, CBC News, Toronto.
Candidates running for the federal election in Toronto Centre held a debate with Ryerson University tonight, and among the issues discussed was voting accessibility for young people.
Part of participating in a democratic process is being able to educate yourself. Part of it is being able to have access to voting. And the fact that we have students on campus during the pandemic without the opportunity to participate, that I consider it voter suppression.
Elections Canada has opted to not hold voting on college campuses due to COVID-19. The debate between candidates was held virtually, and it wasn't without its technical glitches. Green Party leader Annamie Paul, Liberal incumbent Marcy Ian, NDP candidate Brian Chang, and Conservative candidate Ryan Lester all took part. Liberal leader Justin Trudeau was in Toronto today to unveil his party's platform. Affordable housing figures prominently in the plan. Not a surprise, considering polls show it's an issue that's top of mind for Canadians right now. Chris Glover takes a look at what the three main political parties are promising.
to stand together for affordable housing.
At a demonstration in the city's northwest, this renters' rights organization has one thing on its mind this election.
We need all the parties to prioritize real affordable housing.
Turns out housing is on a lot of our minds.
There should be more affordable housing.
One of the greatest issues right now is in the city, especially, is housing justice and affordability.
New polling from Nanos for Bell Media shows 41% said their top issue was affordable housing, 18% said transit, and 14% said COVID. People in Toronto were even more likely to say affordable housing at 47% compared to 35% among 905 voters. Toronto's mayor says housing tops his list for federal parties too.
We need to have sustained funding for our initiatives in areas such as housing, affordable housing.
We have a plan to move forward for everyone.
With Justin Trudeau's launch of the Liberal platform today, we now have the plans of the three major national parties, and they all have lots on housing. For the Liberals, that includes $1 billion for a new rent-to-own program, a new tax-free account for people under 40 to save up to $40,000 for their first home, and a $4 billion fund for cities to accelerate housing projects. The Conservatives' housing pledges include a promise to build 1 million homes in 3 years, a 2-year ban on foreign home buyers, and a plan to free up at least 15% of federally owned real estate for housing. The NDP's housing plan includes building 500,000 affordable housing units in 10 years, a 20% foreign home buyers tax, and waiving federal sales tax on affordable rental construction.
None of these plans go far enough.
Economist Mike Moffat says none of them provide enough immediate supply to tackle Canada's housing crisis.
I think that the Liberal approach on the housing accelerator has the most potential, but it's also the most untested.
Still, he's impressed to see housing as an issue in a federal election like never before.
There's a real willingness now for the federal parties to intervene in both provincial and municipal jurisdictions because they understand how upset Canadians are with this.
We need to do something about getting those prices under control somehow.
Showing the strongest housing plan is a critical foundation to capturing votes. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
Meteorologist Nick Cernkovich joins us now to tell us what we can expect over the next couple of days. Nick?
Well, Talia, certainly drier weather in place today, and temperatures pretty much on the seasonal mark. Today's highs coming in at about 24 degrees across the GTA. There's a look at other places in southern Ontario. Windsor at 27 degrees, but generally speaking, temperatures basically on the seasonal mark. Not much to speak of in terms of humidex either. There's a look at afternoon humidex values. Windsor at 27, Toronto at 25, so basically 1 point higher than the temperature itself. In terms of cloud cover, not much to speak of there too. We've had clear skies across the GTA. Pretty straightforward forecast, to be quite honest with you. And tomorrow, generally sunny skies, a little bit more in the way of cloud cover developing through tomorrow night, and then a mix of sun and cloud as we head through Thursday night, Thursday evening, and then Friday morning. Forecast for the next 24 looks like this: 14 degrees tonight under generally clear skies tomorrow, high of just 23 degrees, wind still out of the north. We'll have your full 5-day forecast as well as a look toward the long weekend coming up in just a bit.
Thanks, Nick. With back to school just a week away, 2 Ontario hospitals have opened COVID-19 clinics specifically for children. Michael Garron Hospital launched its youth-focused assessment center for the first time last year and reopened it again today.
The intention in reopening this space is to create a family-friendly space for kids and their families to get tested and assessed in a more pleasant environment.
The clinic ran from last September to June of this year and was well received by families in the community. The center will operate daily from 11:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. and is open for testing, assessments, and treatments. Meanwhile, the Windsor Regional Hospital opened its pediatric COVID-19 clinic yesterday. The province sent an open letter to Ontario universities today instructing them to have mandatory COVID-19 vaccination policies in place by September 7th. As of next week, physical distancing and capacity limits will be removed for indoor instructional spaces. The province says anyone who physically attends campus needs to show proof of vaccination status, with exceptions. A student or teacher can also provide a written document from a physician or registered nurse explaining that they have a medical reason for not being vaccinated. They would need to be tested for COVID-19 on a weekly basis. The TTC is celebrating its 100th birthday today and looking back on its 100 years servicing this city. One worker who's been with the company for nearly 5 decades says he still loves driving customers around Toronto.
But I've been lucky. I like going to work and I enjoy what I do. So if you do, you have fun.
Toronto Transit led people on a tour of its vehicles over the last 100 years. When it launched in 1921, it cost just 7 cents to ride. To commemorate the milestone, the City of Toronto sign at City Hall was lit in TTC red. Here's a live shot of the skyline. Starting to feel a little cooler out there. Tonight's low reaching 13 degrees. Nick's back now with our extended forecast and hoping we don't get too much cooler than this.
Well, Talia, as we look toward the forecast, things pretty much steady. What you see today, what you had yesterday, is what you can expect for tomorrow as well. Now, I want to put the temperatures in perspective here, and sometimes I'll show these boards. These are the averages for this time of year. So the average temperature for this time of year, 23.7 degrees. The average low, 12.2. Today, 23.8 degrees. So you don't get too much closer than that. And the overnight low from last night, just a little bit warmer. But tonight, we're actually going to head down closer to that 12.2. So pretty much a seasonal day today, and pretty much seasonal as we head through the next 24 hours as well. There's a look at the remnants of Ida as it pushes up toward Atlantic Canada for us, though, and behind it, high pressure in place, clear skies for tonight and tomorrow as well. A little bit of cloud cover developing as we head through Friday, mix of sun and cloud, especially down towards southwestern Ontario. And then into the weekend, we're going to see another system pushing through. Saturday's looking okay. Sunday, likely some showers, and Monday, a few spotty showers as well. We'll come to that in the long-range forecast in just a sec. For tonight, down in southwestern Ontario, temperatures 12, 13, even 14 degrees down toward Windsor. For tomorrow afternoon, again, seasonal temperatures from 23 to 25 degrees under mainly sunny skies. For the Golden Horseshoe, we're looking at temperatures through tonight, down around 13, 14 degrees. So it's pretty much on the seasonal mark, as I showed you earlier on there. And tomorrow, same story, seasonal temperatures at about 22, 23 degrees and sunny skies across the GTA. Here's a look at the next 5 then. As we move through Friday, we've got a mix of sun and cloud, 24 degrees. Same story for Saturday, mix of sun and cloud, 25. It's probably the nicest day of the long weekend, though, as we head through Sunday and Monday. Sunday, good chance we're going to see some showers there. Monday, a bit cooler and a few lingering spotty showers. Talia.
Thanks, Nick. Raptors president Masai Ujiri became a bit emotional during his speech today after unveiling a new art installation about humanity in Toronto.
You know why I'm staying here? You know why I love here? It's because of that. Yeah, diversity, people. And I come to the games every day. I see people from everywhere. And it means the world to me to walk out there and see everybody from all parts of the world.
The installation is made up of 35 words that reflect what humanity means to Ujiri, representing peace, togetherness, youth, and diversity. He says it symbolizes the need to spread more humanity and start a conversation about a kinder world. One of the GTA's newest movie stars has walked the red carpet in his hometown for the first time. Simu Liu plays the lead role in Marvel Studios' Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Liu told CBC News he hopes more Asian characters can break into roles like his.
I still think there's a lot more work to be done from a representational standpoint. I think the fact that we have one superhero is great, and it is such a watershed moment for our community. But guess what? There could be many more.
CBC viewers may recognize Liu from his role in the sitcom Kim's Convenience. Shang-Chi already had its red carpet debut in Los Angeles last week. The film is aiming for a $50 million opening weekend at the box office. And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.